What's good, everybody? In this video, I'm going to be showing you step by step how you can paint a portrait just like this one right here. So I broke this down into 3 easy phases that are as easy as possible for you to digest. All right, so let's get started right here. So now in phase number 1, the first thing that I started off with is my trace. Now, I show you how to create underpaintings effectively in one of my previous videos. So if you don't know how to create an underpainting, it's super simple. You just need to create like a really thinned out paint. So you just use paint thinner mixed with your oil paint and you apply it down with your brush and you let it dry. You want to let it dry because you don't want the colors to be smearing. And the reason why I use this color right here, this brown, is called burnt sienna, is because this is a color that dries pretty quickly and it's easy for me to layer on top of it without the underpainting showing after my finished product. So if you want to learn more about underpaintings, I showed that in one of my previous videos, so just check that out. But if you're good, then let's go on to the next step right here, which is the shadowing stage. Now, I should add a little disclaimer here. And if you want to get the best results out of this method that I'm showing you right now, you should follow alongside me and like do it step by step and like rewind the video if you need to like go over a certain step and just like keep on going along. And as you like progress, then you just keep on progressing in the video and you go on to the further stages. But also along with that, get the 7-step guide on painting portraits in the description so that you can apply this to your own personal photos. So I'm showing you how to create this one picture right here. And I know that you don't want to just be painting the same thing over and over again. So get the 7-step guide. It's going to show you how to apply this to your own personal photos too. And I think that's really helpful no matter what stage you are. If you're a beginner or if you're like intermediate, any level, I feel like it's going to be very helpful for you. And I break it down in like a similar way that I do over here with like the photos showing you step by step. So if you're interested in that, click the link in the description, put your email in, I'll get it sent to you right away. And once you do that, then now onto the shadowing phase. I don't really want to focus too much on all of the colors that I use. I just want you to see my specific thought process that I use with painting portraits. So I start off with the darks and then I'm moving all the way on to my lights, you see, as I go on. So over here with my shadows, I used all of these places right here. Let me mark them out. I just looked at this photo right here and I asked myself, where are the darkest places that I can lay out first? Now, I immediately go to this area right here because that's like a really dark area that stands out. Where else is really dark that stands out? Underneath her nose, around her lips, and like underneath like her chin or that area. Those are the places that I see are the darkest in the photo. And I'm just gonna take my darkest gray that I made, and I'm gonna put it into all of those areas that I see are super dark, and those are the places that really like stand out the most. So that's what I did, and I mixed in a little bit of blue to my gray because shadows are normally bluish tone, so I wanted to get that blue tone in with this photo that I'm painting right now. And I would recommend for you to try that too, like try adding some blue into your shadows instead of just making it like regular gray or black, because the blue is going to give it like a little bit more of a nice look to it. I don't really know how to explain it, but it has more of a like colorful look when you add the blue to your photos, and it just adds like a splash of color too. So I think it's really satisfying to look at just in general. So I added the shadow and I filled out all of these places. And while the paint is still wet, I'm gonna keep on adding some more layers to this. So after I did that, I created some dark gray. This time I didn't add any blue to it, but I put this in those next places that I saw were like a little bit of a notch lighter than those darkest areas that we found. So you remember how we found these dark areas right here in the face? Now we're gonna find for the places that are still dark, but not as dark as those like darkest shadows right there. So I see that places like here are like a transition phase between like the darks and all the way to the lights. So where else on the face has this? I see that around like her eyes, her eyelid, and also like around her hair right here. You see that is not like super, super dark, but it's still kind of up there. So I'm going to map all that out with my grays. So I put that in all of these areas right here. So don't be afraid if it's looking a little bit messy. It's supposed to look a little bit messy. Don't get discouraged, because these are just the dark stages, and it's gonna look messy. You're not really gonna see the full vision until we start to add those lighter phases and the texture of the picture really starts to come out. So after I added those dark grays, now you're done with phase one, which is just getting down all of the dark areas down. So now we're going to start to move on to our lighter areas and the highlights of the photo. So what I did over here is I created 3 different tones of gray. So I mixed some black with some white, and I made like 3 different values. So I'll put number 1 over here for the darkest tone, number 2 for like the mid tone, and 3 for the lightest tone, all of these in gray. So what I used over here is I just used my lightest tones. So these are my 3s, and I put that at the top of her forehead because here is a very light area and I wanted to map that out. Now, I didn't finish the entire forehead in this step, but I'm going to get to it later. But over here, there's a certain technique that I want you to learn, and I used it a lot in this photo that I painted. So if you've ever painted a fade, like between a dark color and a light color, you know how to use your brush like in a way that just mixes the colors. You're not applying any new paint, you're just mixing it from one to the other. So you're using a dry brush in this phase, and that is exactly what I did over here. I put down the number 3 paint, and I put that on the forehead, and I cleaned my brush. I put it like on some like paper towel. You can use paper towel with your brush. Don't mix oil paints with water. Like, don't do that. It's not supposed to mix together. I cleaned up my brush with the paper towel, and then while I had that dry brush, I faded the lights to the darks that I laid down below. So that's the reason why you want to keep these colors wet. Don't let them dry fully. Keep them wet because we're going to use them to fade between the darks and the lights. And if you let it dry, then it's going to be hard for you to fade it, and it's not really going to be as smooth as we want. And this photo right here is super smooth. Like, it's super smooth. This person did such a good job in this sculpture. Like, I don't know which museum it is in, but it's got to be in like one of the best ones in the world. But to get that same effect, you see what we're trying to do right here. We're trying to get like as smooth as possible with the paint. We don't want any rough edges. So that's the reason why we want the paint to stay wet. So that's what I did over here with this area. And now I started to cover some more area with my midtones right here. So the transition between the darks and the lights around her cheek, you see I added this over here, and I'm using that dry brush to mix between the darks and the lights to create that nice smooth transition on her side of her face. So after you finish that, now there's a huge jump. You don't get scared. It's a huge jump between this step and this step. But trust me, I just used the light tones, and I used that fade method for all of these white areas. I just filled it all out. That's all I did. It's nothing special. So I just filled out all of this, and then I kept a little bit of white areas right here because we're going to use an even lighter tone for those, and we're going to get to that in the next step. But I just applied them and created that fade. So after you're done with that, then the photo should be somewhere around here like this. So now we only have a little bit left to complete the photo. So phase 2, I want to call this the light phases, like the adding your grays. So now phase 3 is where you start to add your whites to the photo. So over here, you see that I just filled out all of those areas that had the white areas, and I just used this white straight from the tube. I didn't mix any gray to it. I just used it straight from the tube, and I faded it in between the darks and the lights and the grays. So I just bridged the gap between the two, and I used the whites all the way over here in the nose too. So all the areas that were white, you see right here, even the neck too, I just used some gray like on those like future stages. So yeah, on to the next step. I just used some extra white to brighten up where all of these shadows were. And these were just like a little touch up. I just wanted it to stand out a little bit more because in the reference photo right here, you see that these whites really stand out some more. And I thought that in the previous stage, they weren't really standing out as much as I wanted it to. So I just used some extra white just to make it really stand out some more. So you can kind of see the difference between the two. Like, let me erase this so you can see clearly. You see between this one and then this one, you see it's a little bit lighter over here, a little bit lighter over here, a little bit lighter over here, and over here is a little bit darker. So I just did that. It was a personal touch. You don't really need to do that, but I think that it makes a difference. The little things matter over here. So we want to focus on every single detail. So after I brightened up all of those areas, I just added some of the mid-tones in the hair now. So the mid-tones, you remember we made those 3 tones with the grays. I used this one right here and I applied it into the hair, and I did that so that there's a little bit of a shadow. You don't want the hair to just be one tone. There's a little bit of a shadow over here, so we want to create the transition between the darks and the lights. So I just laid down where those dark areas are before we put down the whites to create the nice fade between everything. So now in the finishing stage, I just added white, and you're going to create that transition all the way from these darks to the whites to the grays over here. So I just applied all of the white in this area right here, over here, and we were pretty much finished with the photo. So I also added the white in the neck right there. So over here, you're done with the photo. So that is the finishing stage right there. So it gets a check. And you see that we just darkened up some of the shadows as well. I used a little bit of black in like this area right here underneath the nose because I just wanted it to be a little bit more prominent. But that's the finished photo, and I hope that you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I hope that you could gain some sort of value from it. And again, keep on practicing this because I didn't get to this stage or this level from just one day or just 2 days of me trying. It was constant repetition, and I just took the things that were most valuable to me and I'm giving it to you over here in this video. So just stay consistent, keep on repeating, and you will get to this right now. I'm telling you, you're going to get so fast, so quickly, because that is what happened to me. And I know that when you put your mind to something, you can get it done and you'll be able to accomplish it. So get that 7-step guide in the description for painting portraits. And over there, you're going to join my emailing list, and I'm going to be launching an art coaching, going to be helping you one-on-one with all of your questions that you have, any difficulties that you have with painting, because I want you to be proud of the work that you make, and I want you to become the best artist that you can be. So I want to thank you all for watching this video. And if you want to learn how to get good at mixing colors for painting realistic looking eyes, click the video on the screen right here, and I'll see you all over there. Peace.